Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Bella, Networking Guru, the networking expert and the networking speaker. I know we're having a really odd 2020. It's really difficult right now that we can't attend networking events and we can't attend networking seminars. So I wanted to upload a previous seminar that I organised for Nucleus IP trademark attorneys based in London, UK. And the information from the speakers are still very relevant. Hi guys, I know it's Tuesday, but you have a bonus today. It's Bella Networking Guru, and you are watching the Bella Networking Facebook show. Today, I'm in the offices of Nucleus IP, and I'm hosting a seminar all about helping to grow your brand and grow your brand online and how to track and measure your brand. And I have 5 fantastic speakers for you. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce the first speaker.
Family shopping. Don't you just love it? Now I know all about family shopping because I have 3 daughters. Kimberly 22, Claudia 19 and Jasmine 16. Now, as part of my role as a father, we have always agreed that whenever we go away on holiday, we have a shopping day. And a few years back, we went to Paris to Disney. Now, I'm a bit of a Disney addict. That's not what I'm going to talk about today, but Disney is one of the best places for brand. If you want to learn about brand, Disney is a great place. So I get to go to Disney, and my daughters had a day in Paris. And on the list was a shop called Abercrombie & Fitch. I don't know if you've ever heard of them. This is them here, Abercrombie & Fitch. And my oldest daughter thought this would be on the Champs-Élysées. So we took the métro to the Arc de Triomphe end, and we started walking down the Champs-Élysées. And after about an hour and a quarter, we'd reached the Place de la Concorde end, and we had not found this Abercrombie & Fitch. So I have to say, I was getting a little bit grumpy. I would sooner be at Euro Disney. But we kind of committed ourselves, and my daughter was convinced it was on the Champs-Élysées. So we turned around and we walked back up, and about a quarter of the way up on the left-hand side, we came across this, a metal sign in a fence for Abercrombie & Fitch. So, and adjoining it was a beautiful gate, ornate gate and everything, with 2 very fine-looking young fellows standing there. So we approach and they go, "Oh no, mademoiselle, we are sorry. You have to join the queue." The queue? Is a queue to get in? How long is the queue? Today the queue is 45 minutes. 45 minutes to queue to get into a shop? Hold on, I'm out now. I'm out. So you can't quite see on the shop, but there were some little benches just on the side of the path there. So I sat myself on one of those and started thinking about what's going on. And my daughter joined the queue. 45 minutes. And actually, whilst I was waiting, at one point I would wave every now and then, and all this. At one point I couldn't see them. I'd lost them entirely because everybody in the queue had long blonde hair, and they had their mums with them, and they had, you know, blah blah. And they're all the same age and all that. So I couldn't see them. And then eventually they got to the front and disappeared in. And of course, I'm thinking, well, they've only just got in. We're now 2 hours into this shopping expedition, and they're probably going to be at least another half an hour, maybe even an hour. So I started thinking about work and business and what was going on and all that sort of thing. And then I got very sad because I started to count sheep. Instead of counting sheep, however, I counted the number of people carrying an Abercrombie & Fitch bag that were leaving Abercrombie & Fitch. And the first count of 100 yielded 81 people carrying a bag. And the second, I thought it was unbelievable. So what I actually then did is I counted a second 100, of which 83 had a bag from Abercrombie & Fitch. That's an 81%, 82% conversion rate. Now here's the thing, guys. How would you like a business which nobody can find, nobody can see, you have to queue for 45 minutes to go in and yields an 82% conversion rate. How would you like a business like that? Hands up if you'd like a business like that. Absolutely. We'd all like a business like that. So I'm really thinking now. I'm in the middle of writing my second book. My first one I have with me here, Going Extra Cheap. I'm about to publish my second one. But the truth of the matter is, I'm sitting there thinking, what's going on here? This can't simply be a case of people are just queuing for random stuff. And actually what it means, and the conclusion I came to, was it's not about selling anymore. It's about how you help people to buy. And this is a fundamental shift in the way marketing works. See, marketing of old is all about telling people all about what you do and blasting it out to as many people as you can afford. But that actually isn't happening anymore. Because in the new knowledge economy, since the arrival of the internet, actually we as the buyers of these things are in control. And the brand owner, we as business owners, have no control over the selling process anymore. This is backed up by a big piece of research that comes from a book called The Challenger Customer. If you read business books, this is worth reading. It follows up a book called The Challenger Sale. And according to this book, and it's a front for an organisation called CEB. They're a big American research company. But actually, what they say in this book are that actually when people contact you for the very first time, they've already made 57% of the decision to buy from you. Now, I don't know about what you're doing in your marketing, but the reality of this is that people are already more likely to buy from you than they're not when they contact you for the very first time. This means you have to use your marketing channels in an entirely different way to the way you've been using them before. Because it's not about outbound marketing anymore. It's not about blasting everybody with your story, your why, your what, all of that sort of thing. That's gone now, everybody. Forget it. Actually, what we've got to be doing now is reeling people inbound. They're effectively coming towards us. It would be fair to say that everybody that we all need in this room for our business plans is currently online looking for us. The question I have for you is, can you get found? We have to build brands that matter. It's an imperative now that actually the stories, the marketing that we do, when people engage them, they've got to say that really matters to me. That's important to me. And then they're much more likely to work with you. So the thing we need to do is really redefine what brand is about. See, brand, well, what if I say brand to you, what does that mean? What does that mean to people in the room? What does it, shout out what you think it means. Brand. If I say brand, what do you mean? A logo, exactly. Anything else?
Experience.
An experience, yeah?
Who you are.
Who you are, all those sorts of things. And the trouble is, if I go on long enough, we'll end up with the same list I've got in the office, which is 74 different answers to what brand stands for. Quality, perception in consumers' mind, all sorts of different things. The reality is that's not what brand is anymore. What brand is today is every experience that affects the relationship between a product or service and its buyer. That's what a brand is today. Now, I only know this because I've been working this definition since 1999 when we first came up with it. Let me just explain it to you very quickly. The first thing, a true brand can only exist in the mind of a buyer, somebody who has exchanged money or time for your product or your service. Because it's only then is the relationship fully formed for them to have a true value on it. And there's a key point of this, is actually this is a relationship now. It's a relationship that I value more than the money in my pocket. And if we could create a relationship that looks like it's worth more than the money in the pocket, what would you do with the money in your pocket? You'd probably give it to me because my relationship is worth more. So the money acts as an investment. So every experience that we have now across the whole business, your systems, your processes, the way you answer your phone, the way you dress, the way you package your goods, the way you present your proposals, the way you deliver your promise on your websites, all of that now links to everything related to brand. So we need to build those relationships. So the first thing you need to do is you need to define a story. What's your story? Now, there's lots of people who talk about what's your story. Actually, it's a very complicated thing. I'm not going to dwell on it, but it has 4 B's that are at the cornerstone of it. The first thing you have to define are what your behavioural values are. What's your style of doing business? Because we buy from people we like, don't we? So therefore, you've got to portray your style through your brand. You've also got to define your benefits. Not your features, not your whys, not your whats, your benefits. How you make a difference to people. You also have got to define what you want people to believe about you, and ultimately define what you want to become famous for. These are the cornerstones of your value proposition. And these values feed everything you do in your organisation. So that's the first part you need. You also need to define your ideal prospect, because that's the relationship part between your story, your value proposition, and your ideal prospect. And to do this, you have to give them a profile that's psychographic, not demographic. So it's no good segmenting markets and taking them by age. Actually, what you need to be doing is segmenting your target market by attitude, by style, by emotion, because they're the people you're going to build a relationship with your brand. And these are the 2 cornerstones. And then what you need to do is systemize your marketing into 3 particular phases. And we call this on my head. Because the first thing you need to do is you need to engage people. And the online arena presents us with a real key way of doing that, actually. So if you take Abercrombie & Fitch, you'll notice when you go onto Google, they've got Facebook, they've got Instagram, they've got LinkedIn, they've got Twitter, but they've also got YouTube, they've also got a blog, and they also are active on TripAdvisor. On TripAdvisor, it says, we're about to go to Barbados. We need to buy some clothes from Abercrombie & Fitch. Where's the nearest one? Ooh. And they respond to it. Now, if you look at that, there's the shop. And as a result of interacting with all of this, of course, when people will go and queue for 45 minutes to go into the shop. Actually, when they're queuing, it's part of the experience of expectation of going into the store. And if you've queued for 45 minutes, you're not going to walk out without a purchase, are you? Because that will be a waste of 45 minutes. You need to do this in your own organisations. Now, this is only just B2C. This is B2B as well. Look at Oracle. They've got active Twitter, they've got active Facebook, they've got active YouTube, they've got active LinkedIn, they've got Instagram, which we have for our business, and they even have blogs as well. So if you want to go and find out about Oracle, you just have to go online, and there they are. You don't need fancy offices anymore. It's all there. And people are inbound towards them, they're finding out this information. You need to do the same. So you have to engage. The second thing you have to do, so that's the E of Ed, the second D of Ed, is demonstrate. You need to demonstrate why people should buy from you. And the way to do that is to convey your value. Now, this is my most favourite definition of value. Product quality plus service quality divided by price paid plus ease of doing business. I think this is a fantastic formula for value. Now, what's interesting about this is when you talk to business owners, they say, well, it's predominantly about product quality and the price people pay. It's about that. But here's the thing, Gallup have done some research on this, and the perception of value is 85% reliant on service quality and ease of doing business. And the product and the price paid is worth less than 15% of the value perception. So if you're thinking you've got a great product and you're doing a great deal on it, I'm afraid you're in the wrong place. What you've actually got to be doing is really nailing your service and really nailing making it easy for people to buy from you. If you do that, then you're going to have a much better business. And only marketing people can help you do that. Because that helps you convey your benefits, your benefits, your benefits. What you should also do is, having demonstrated that through your website and your literature and your work on Instagram and Facebook, you should demonstrate this further with a test drive. So all the websites I design are only about test drives. They don't have any other information on them. So for example, I work with one of the UK's leading chiropractic practices. And when you go onto their front page, you can have a rate your health, have a free health check, or book a massage. Now you can find out all the other information as well, but that's what you're greeted with first. Because the people who are visiting your website are well on their way to 57% of a decision to buy from you. That's how they got to your website. So give them a go. Demonstrate your value right from the off. This works for B2B as well. This is a chemical company. And if you look to their original website, it was all about how long they've been established and what they did. But the reality is now you can either talk to an expert, get a quote, or request a test kit. The test kit has resulted in 800% uplift in sales. Just the test kit alone. Because people go and try it and then they come back and they order some more. So you've got to do this. You've got to build into your marketing plan a test drive. So now I've engaged you, I've demonstrated what you can do. So far I've given you no money. It's cost you as a business a lot of money to get these prospects in. So what you now need to do is to deliver. Now this comes with a brand health warning. Because often after people have bought from you, they're called something special. But the brand health warning is you must never ever treat your buyers as customers. Because the moment you do that in neuroscience terms, what it'll do is they'll go to the part of your brain which means that you're automatically in some kind of relationship with them. Now think about that for a minute. You start to miss out all the important points of keeping the relationship going. So we refer to them as paying prospects. So you keep talking to them as if they're about to go away. Keep them entertained, keep them excited, even after they bought from you. Create a wow. So everything you do must be a wow. Everything, without exception. Do not spare the horses. If it was down to me, I'd spend all my marketing money at the bottom of the bucket, not at the top. And then what you need to do is you need to keep talking to your loyal customers all of the time. So in other words, you need to fill them with advocacy and approval, endorsement and affirmations, because then it's much harder for them to say no. Whereas if you don't talk to them and other people niggle at them and tell them they're not doing the right thing or whatever, actually it makes them much harder for them to say yes. So you have to keep talking to them in marketing terms, all of the time, existing customers. And if you do that, if you start with your value proposition, if you always treat everyone associated with your business as a prospect, if you focus on inbound activity rather than on outbound activity, if you run your marketing as a process, an on-the-ed process, if you make buying from you amazing, what you will have at the end of that is a very powerful brand. I've been Barnaby Winter of the Brand Bucket Company. Thank you very much.
Hi guys, you are tuned in to the Bella Networking Facebook show, and yes, I know it's a Tuesday, but I have a bonus for you. We are streaming live in London a Bella Networking seminar all about to grow your brand. And a big thank you to Barnaby Winter. Can we give him a round of applause? And one thing that really stood out to me, what he was talking about, is customers buy on benefits, customers buy on value, and it's all about the wow factor. So do you guys have any questions for Barnaby? I would love to hear. Just hit the comments box at the box, and I'd love to hear the interaction. So without further ado, I would love to introduce my next guest, which is James, and he's going to give you some fantastic tips on how to grow your brand online and actually how to track and measure. So without further ado, James,
thank you everyone. So thank you very much, Bella, for asking me today, and also Ken for hosting us in this great venue. I'm sure we appreciate that. And that was excellent, Barnaby. Lots of insights for us all to take away with us. And thank you everyone for taking time out of your busy schedules to join us today. I hope both from this now and elsewhere you get lots of benefits for your business. So we're going to talk about how to measure your brand online. I want to just talk about a little bit more about me. I had 10 years marketing experience working for different companies, some of Europe's leading within their sector. And in 2015 I set up Fruitful Marketing, a marketing agency. And a few campaigns we worked on, the first being we worked with a charity who had a 2-day annual seminar, and we did a digital marketing campaign On the back of that, they received a 1,200% return of investment. Another, we looked at their sales process, literally ripped it to shreds and started again. On the back of that, they started winning new orders, which have added over 6 figures to their annual turnover. And finally, another one, we worked with them on a social media campaign, giving them advice on there, and as a result, they were able to achieve a 433% increase in their website traffic, which was a big thing for their business. So why have I told you that? Is it to boost my own ego? Have we got a 15-minute sales pitch now? Well, no, really, it's to demonstrate that I can tell you these because we tracked and we measured them. John Wanamaker famously said, "Half my advertising is wasted. I just don't know which half." I'm sure we're all familiar with that saying. And actually it's amazing still to this day how many businesses are still in that situation. And yet unfortunately he passed away nearly 100 years ago. In the meantime, we've had a digital revolution, and there's no longer, it's never been easier to track, measure and report. So as businesses, there's no excuses to be in this situation. So why is it so important? Well, it's firstly important to measure our successes, what's working for your business, but also just as important to measure your failures, because not every marketing campaign will work. But if we track, we measure, we report, and then analyse, then we can apply and learn and use it wisely and your spend to grow your business. So there are different ways that we can do this. How can we track all of your leads, inquiries and campaigns? There can be simple methods, such as you can train your team to ask, how did you hear about our company? But often that, in practice, that sometimes gets missed, that stage. And then what if the customer responds and says, well, I found you on Google. Okay, that's great, but did you find us organically? Apply for both small businesses and startups, as well as big blue chip organisations. We've got so many tools available to us as business owners, and they're often on a user basis. So years ago, people would have to invest hundreds of thousands of pounds on systems, and yet a startup can tap into this resource from tomorrow. So it's a fantastic opportunity. It's also a very dangerous one for established companies. But they must be aware of this in their competition. To the first area we include here, having dedicated telephone numbers. Now these are low cost, they don't require separate phone lines, they can all be diverted to your central line coming through. But it's absolutely perfect if you're doing different campaigns and you're using different channels, such as advertising. If you've got an advert, that can have a specific number. Perhaps promotional goods that you're giving out at an exhibition, on your business cards. And then even though these numbers are coming in centrally, they're actually, these statistics are being monitored. And you can start looking at the number of leads that have been generated, but also looking at the quality of them by monitoring things such as the length of time on the phone. The second area would be website analytics. Google Analytics is such a powerful tool. You could literally lose days just looking at your website and all of the information that's on there. But it can highlight, and especially using some of the reporting, both your best and worst performing pages. So if you start looking at things like bounce rates, which is when a person exits the website on a page, then question why, if it's very high. Could it be that your images on there are too large, so your load time is being effective and people are turned off and leaving? Could it be that it works well on a desktop, when you look on a mobile version, perhaps it doesn't display as well? but using the analytics you can look at this and monitor your consumers' behaviour. Also through Google Analytics you can set goals, and this is a great feature. So it might be for someone to do a transaction, to download a form, to give you details, but you can set those goals. And it also provides another tool, which is Google Studio, which pulls through all of your data through the analytics from your website. It can present it in quite a nice format. There's live data, you can change everything online. But all of these tools are available completely free of charge. The third area are landing pages. So this is a specific entry point to your website, and you can tie these in with a URL and again on one of your campaigns. Often these are popular if you've got a very strong call to action that you want to include. Perhaps it's to get someone to sign up to then get them into a marketing automation. But you can have these very specific, and again the information is recorded on these landing pages through your Google Analytics, so you've got that central viewpoint. A fourth way would be promotional codes. I'm sure all of us have included a promotional code in our baskets at the end of an online transaction to get a discount or an extra incentive. But if we can monitor those codes, see which campaigns are working and what's leading to this point, then again we can learn what's working for your business. The fifth area is A/B testing. This is personally something I get quite excited about. But that's when either online or on emails you have two versions. So you have a version A and a version B. On a web page, 50% of your traffic will see each one. Then, using your Google Analytics, you can start seeing what's working and which one is working better. And at the end of your trial period, can have it there. And as people, we're incredibly hard to predict, especially online. And the most minor changes can have significant implications to your results. It might be the colour of a button that's your call to action, or some slight tweaks in the wording. But the results just from making those changes can be incredible. If you apply A/B testing onto your digital marketing, such as your newsletters or an e-shop that's going out, then any good email marketing tool will allow you to do this. You could change something such as the subject line. It will send out to part of your database, version A, part of your database, version B. Then, after a period of time, it will monitor which one has got the most open rates, or if it was click-through rates. And then intelligently, all for you, it will then send out the most successful version on the A/B to the rest of your database. It can be so easy to assume we know what people will do, what they'll open, but trust me, personally, from some of the tests we've done, the results can be surprising. And again, as people, we're so hard to predict. And then finally, I want to mention email automation. So it really goes on from what Barnaby says about how many touch points we need to have with our customer. And email automation is such a great opportunity. So if you set up, if you have a campaign, it's usually to try and get people's email addresses. Perhaps you've done that by giving them a resource that's appropriate for your target market that they want to do. And then you can start feeding them into your pipeline and go through the email automation. It's quite a bit of work to do at the start, and it requires quite a bit of thought. But done correctly, and once it's done, you can literally step back, and then that process of marketing email automation is nurturing your customers, building up that brand. So in summary, digital marketing offers amazing scope for your businesses. We can monitor, report and analyse like never before. We've only scratched the surface really on these 6 techniques, but I hope that some of these you can apply to your businesses if you aren't already doing so. I'm here afterwards if you want to discuss any of the concepts in more detail. But I'd also like to offer all attendees this opportunity. I've got a landing page, as you can see there, so practicing what I preach, but you won't go into an email automation, it's okay. But yeah, if you want to arrange a 30-minute telephone call or Skype call, we can talk through. I'd really like to help any speaking before out in the corridors. Some really interesting brands here. So if there are any insights I can give to help, then please do take us up there. So I'd encourage you to use what you've learned today, and let's try to learn from John Wanamaker and use the digital technologies to monitor our brands online.
Thank you, James. So guys, you are watching the Bella Networking Facebook show, and we're live in London at a live seminar all about branding and how to track online branding performance. And what an amazing job James did. What do you think, audience? Let's give him another round of applause. So you're probably hearing the clapping, right? So yes, we're in London, St. Paul's, with an audience at this live seminar. And I love one of the key points that James talked about, that when you are creating a strategy and looking at online tracking, it's important to have different touch points for your customers, especially as different customers respond differently to different profiles, maybe such as Instagram or Facebook. So if you want to go back and have a look at James' speaker presentation, just hit the rewind button and you'll be able to see that. And please share also. So I'd like to welcome our next speaker, which is Ken, and he's going to be sharing with you what is a trademark, why it's so important to protect your brand, and actually how you can protect your brand from the UK and beyond. So without further ado, I would love to introduce Ken to the stage.
Unfortunately not red stripe, but, and they're not for general consumption, I'm afraid. It is a pity. Okay, you've heard from previously, I'm Ken Saul from Nucleus IP, a 131-year-old company who've been looking after people's trademarks for all that time. First of all, I'm just thinking to myself, how can I follow these two gentlemen? They've done such a good job. Well, perhaps I can follow it by saying that both Barnaby's Brand Bucket and James' Fruitful Marketing have registered their trademarks with Nucleus IP. So, what is a trademark? We all know what a trademark is, I'm sure. But just to give you an idea, a trademark or a brand is something that differentiates your products or services from that of another, generally your competitor. So a trademark can be, just a look around the room, we can have a word mark like Shiseido, we can have a device or logo, someone mentioned logo earlier, like the 3 Diamonds device for Mitsubishi. It can be a combination of both, like Thompson. Their lovely little TUIs, they're now called TUI. TUI, very good logo with the word Thompson, tells you exactly who they are. Nowadays, trademarks can be colours. McDonald's Golden Arches, they will have that registered in the exact Pantone number so that people can't copy it for the same business area. Nowadays you can have sounds, you can have smells. If you're able to actually describe how it differentiates your sound or particular smell from another, you can actually register it nowadays. So trademarks have gone on somewhat since 1886, when we had the first one registered, which I referred to earlier, the Bash Triangle label, which was #1. Just a quick question, 3 answers I suppose. Who has a trademark here? We either got yes, no or don't know. Actually that's probably quite unfair, let's just say yes or no. Who has a trademark registered here? Does anybody have a trademark registered here? There you go, so the vast majority of people don't have a trademark registered. Okay? Let me just tell you very briefly about 3 fairly recent cases which perhaps indicate why you should have a trademark. A guy had rung me up and said he worked for a healthy food restaurant. It was takeaway at the time, and he wanted to register the brand. Very good brand, and he said, I can't afford it at the moment, I've only just opened. He said, can I come back to you when I'm ready? I said, yep, no problem. Told me what it was, I checked it up, it was available. At the Christmas before last, I rang him up and said, John, how's it going? He said, well, we're no longer a takeaway. We're now a full-blown restaurant. We're doing breakfast, we're doing brunch, lunch, dinner, everything. We have musical acts at the weekend. I said, so you're doing very well. He said, we're doing fantastic. I said, well, you better register your trademark. Can I just get over the Christmas and New Year period and then I'll be back? I said, fine, yeah. It's not my rush. It's never my rush. It's only you guys' rush to do it. They rang me up in February in a blind panic. I've received something called a cease and desist letter. Why? I said. He said, well, because some well-known lady chef in Australia had sent me it. Why has she done that? Well, she had the same brand. Did he know about it? He said, yes, he did know about it. But I told him that trademarks are national. She didn't have any rights in the UK. Unfortunately, because he delayed it so long, she eventually came to the UK, registered her brand in 3 different ways. Therefore, she had a monopoly on him. Although he had first user rights, he would have to rely on common law and go to court to prove it. He said to me, how much would that cost? I said, probably £10,000–15,000. The trademark would have cost him about £800 or £900. And so he came into the office, we chose a different brand. He was very upset, but he chose a different brand. We searched it, we registered it. He's all fine, he's quite happy with it now. But when I spoke to him afterwards, I said to him, how much did that little exercise cost? He said, probably about £10,000. He said, you've got shop signage, you've got uniforms, you've got menus, you've got advertising, you've got everything. I've had to change the whole kit and caboodle. And he said, but that wasn't the worst thing. I said, what's the worst thing? He said, well, you've got family, friends, customers coming up to me saying, John, why did you change your brand? It was fantastic. He said, because I was bloody stupid. That was his honest answer. So it cost him £9,000 to have the brand that he didn't want and see somebody else using the brand that he loved. This has also happened fairly recently in the news. 2 ladies were selling crumpets under the brand name. Why does everybody laugh when I say crumpets?
You've got to laugh at crumpets, it's just so carry on.
I was going to say they're different flavoured crumpets, but I dare. These 2 ladies were doing this for 2 or 3 years. It had become their hobby. They started selling it in Harrods and other well-known places. And you may all remember somebody called Paul Hollywood, Bake Off fame.
Yep.
Well, the company behind Paul Hollywood went out and registered need for bakery products, etc. When the 2 ladies put their UK application in, eventually they were rejected. The registry referred the Paul Hollywood Group to their trademark. Paul Hollywood Group objected to it, and it's still going on now. So again, that would have cost them a few £100s, and it's costed them thousands to have legal representation and go to court. Third one was very, very quickly. A guy had come up to me. I was at a networking event, and he came up to me. I'd known the guy for a while. He said, I was just talking away, and he said, I'm just coming out with a new product. It was a small computer cabling product. And he said, we've got a great name for it, and we're going to call it Nano something. I said, okay. Have you checked it? Checked it? Why should I check it? Well, say it's registered. Say you're going to start infringing somebody else's product. Oh, I don't know about that, he says. So anyway, I came back to the office and checked it. The identical mark was registered for the identical product. So I rang him up. He said, oh, I won't tell you what he said. And so he came into the office the next day. We searched it, gave him a new brand. Well, I see him a few months after, and he said, thanks very much for that, Ken. He said, not only did you save my job, but you saved the company thousands upon thousands of pounds. If we'd have started producing that, and it was all ready to go, packaging and everything else, marketing, advertising, he said, excuse me, it would have cost us literally thousands of pounds. In the end, we got a trademark that was fine. It cost him £1,000. So just beware, if you don't have your brand registered, this is what can happen. Trademarks can either make or lose you thousands of pounds. You can lose you thousands of pounds because of the 3 instances I've just mentioned. It can make you thousands of pounds because if you have, in due course, an exit strategy. If you have a registered trademark, it will make your company more saleable and more marketable and more valuable. It also gives you a basis for business loans. It's also very good for licensing. If you have a brand and you want licensing or even franchising, once you've got your brand, at least the people you're allowed to use it or franchise it can't register it themselves, because we've had cases like that where people haven't bothered registering, started licensing and franchising, and got themselves in all kinds of trouble. All kinds of trouble. There are about 200 countries in the world where you can register a trademark. We do in all of those countries. Surprisingly, not surprisingly, after 131 years. And most of these companies, at least one of our clients has at least one trademark in every one of those 200 countries. So we are truly global. We do in every country. Countries you've probably never heard, like Kiribati and Tuvalu and Vanuatu and Nauru and places like that, but we register trademarks in those countries as well. Generally, the other good thing about a trademark is that they last for 10 years. So if you're registering a trademark and it's under £600 with our company for a UK, one mark, one class, £570. It lasts for 10 years, assuming it gets registered. That is about £1 a week. Most companies nowadays are going to put forward £1 a week to protect their trademark and possibly save or make themselves thousands of pounds. Most other countries are nowadays 10 years. There are one or two countries which differ slightly. USA springs to mind because they have a user requirement as well. 5 years into the life of your mark, you have to prove that your mark is being used in the States. Not many other countries do that. UK, if you haven't used it for 5 years after registration, anybody can come along and try to cancel your trademark. It doesn't get done automatically. They have to go through the registry and they have to prove that your mark isn't being used, or you have to turn it around and prove that it is being used. Trademark registration means that you can use your mark unhindered, generally. It also means that other companies can't use it in the same business area. And I always use Polo as a reference. You can have a Polo Mint, you can have a Volkswagen Polo car, and you can have a Ralph Lauren t-shirt, perfume and everything else. So they've all got a brand Polo, but they're not in the same business area. And someone raised a question earlier about, say I was called, my real name was Ronald McDonald. Could I use Ronald McDonald burgers? I said, well, you could have a good go, but there will be some certain American company who come down here like a ton of bricks. They might call that bad faith, especially if you're 64 years old, you've never thought of burgers until they come. Two things about trademarks as well. On some people will use it, I don't know why the West Indies cricket board up there use a little TM on their logo. Anybody can use TM and any of their advertising website and everything else. All you're saying is that's your trademark. You can say that against anything. I know Barnaby had a very sort of free line thing, he put TM on it. Fine, absolutely fine, nothing wrong with that at all. What you can't do is put R in a circle until you have it registered. You must not, it's against the law. And in America, for instance, you could get a fine or imprisonment or both if you flout that law. So don't do that. Nucleus, as I say, have been going for 131 years. We do virtually everything around all of those things on the board here. The only thing we don't do, as I said earlier, is patents. We cross-reference with someone there. Trademarks, we do everything. We do from naming. We have a parent company do naming and branding. They also do digital and websites and stuff that's way over my head. Also around trademarks, we then search to make sure that brand is actually available before you try to register it. Then we register the trademark, then we renew it. After the mark is registered, we can assign it, license it, everything else. And anything contentious, both prosecution and defence, we deal for our clients all around in all those 200 countries in the world. So I'm just saying, beware if you have a brand and you've spent so much time, effort and money in building it up. Don't just let it slip through your fingers like a glass of water or something. Try to protect it by registering it. And if we'll be around afterwards, obviously, and there'll be questions and answers at the end. Thank you.
Thank you.
So guys, if you're watching and you've just tuned in, you are watching a live seminar in London St. Paul